Excellency President Mohammad Ashraf Ghani, Madam First Lady, Excellencies, Vice President Saleh, Vice President Danish, Honorable Chief Justice, distinguished members of our Cabinet, distinguished ambassadors, our members of the Parliament, distinguished co-chairs, Dr. Fazli and Deputy Minister of Finance, members of the civil society, private sector, colleagues around the table, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's my pleasure, and I'm glad to join you today in today's GCMB forum. Let me begin by thanking the GCMB co-chairs for organizing today's forum, which comes at a critical time as the withdrawal of foreign forces from Afghanistan draw closer. Violence is taking heavy toll on people's life and their livelihoods. And the peace process is not moving as fast as we want it. Though, on a positive note, Afghanistan and international community have just started a new chapter of partnership that aim to strengthen stability and assure further development work. Ladies and gentlemen, on November 23, 24 last year, the partnership between the government of Afghanistan and the international community was renewed and guided by a set of principles that are part of the Afghanistan partnership framework. We all agreed that the prospect of peace offers a transformational opportunity for the people of Afghanistan and its partners. But we also noted that it poses new challenges that must be overcome for peace to succeed. We also agreed that preserving building upon the achievements of the past 2 decades, including important gains made in education, freedom, and opportunities for women and girls, will be crucial for the continuation of the international community's assistance for the future reconstruction and development of Afghanistan. We have reiterated time and again that Afghanistan's goal of self-reliance will be difficult to achieve in absence of peace and political stability. Talking about the new chapter of partnership, today's forum is another example. While the presence of international troops is coming to close, the new chapter and commitment of the international community in supporting the people of Afghanistan, achieving its goals of stability in a unified, democratic, prosperous Afghanistan which respects the rights of its citizens, including women and victims of war and minorities. That's a joint effort. We started in this partnership with different components 20 years back, and throughout these 20 years, and prior to that, Afghans have made tremendous sacrifices for achieving their rights. And I pay respect to all those who made sacrifices in this way. And meanwhile, I want to express my gratitude for your support from the international community in many ways. And also, you have made sacrifices alongside our people. And the theme of today's conference, preserving the gains of the past 20 years, I should say that those are not just the gains of the past 20 years. People have made sacrifices in order to keep a school for girls running in the areas which were considered liberated areas. In the rest of the country were under the Taliban occupation at that time. Men and women of this country and children of this country have made sacrifices. Those also needs to be remembered all the time, because things didn't start 20 years back. Yes, prior to that, there was a dire situation in Afghanistan, and the suffering of the people of Afghanistan was tremendous. Mr. President, yourself mentioned about two of the international NGOs, prominent ones, which are the example of good work or excellence, like the Swedish Committee. In order to have a little bit of detraction, like in 1985, I took a clinic from the Swedish Committee for Afghanistan and I established a clinic in a cave in Panjshir in the liberated areas. Afghanistan was under the Soviet occupation of the country. You yourself also mentioned about the emergency. The emergency hospital, it started during the resistance. The first one was established in Panjshir, and late Ahmad Shah Massoud, the national hero of Afghanistan, he evacuated a building which was a training center for police at that time in Panjshir, and handed over to the emergency. In the emergency hospital in Kabul, at that time when Dr. Strada established that one, then he mentioned that he wanted to have one in Kabul. Kabul was under the Taliban occupation. He asked for our assistance, so one of our embassies helped him to acquire equipment for this hospital, which is here. So Afghanistan have gone through difficult times, but meanwhile, since Ambassador Deborah Lyons also emphasized on the humanitarian situation, yourself also, Mr. President, referred to it. It's important to get the priorities right, and 80 million people in need of humanitarian assistances. That's a very, very telling, very shocking account. So meanwhile, I want to thank all those international development agencies which are supporting the humanitarian assistances, or international organizations, and also pay respect to the humanitarian workers, that they also have made sacrifices alongside our people. It was a year ago that the negotiations, almost a year back, that negotiations started in Doha. Prior to that, there were efforts. Those efforts coincided with the formation of the High Council for National Reconciliation, which our negotiating team and also the Ministry of State for Peace are part of the High Council for National Reconciliation. To be honest, when I assumed this responsibility under those circumstances, I thought that if I will be able to do anything in this respect, that will be like the achievement of my life, because I had witnessed the suffering of our people in the past 43 years, one way or another, in the past, let's say, 36 years being directly involved in the middle of it, how much the people of Afghanistan have suffered. And there would be no more priority than achieving peace for the people of Afghanistan. And in the course of, I'll try to be brief, not as brief as yourself, Mr. President. No, the Ambassador Deborah Lyons also,
she
was good. Yes. Set the trend. Set the trend. And with the start of negotiations, I was very hopeful. So were the people of Afghanistan. I'm not saying today that I have lost hope for achieving peace, because that will be bad news for the people of Afghanistan, for all those who are waiting to see something happening. In the course of accepting, Mr. President, assuming this responsibility, I lost some of my allies, which had supported me otherwise, because they were pressing that I should assume a governmental post rather than this one. But this was my conviction that yes, one person cannot do it. We have the High Council for National Reconciliation, which to a large extent it represents a consensus. It represents the diversity. Consensus is a strong word. As much as possible of today's Afghanistan that we saw, we watched the video. Part of the right side of the video was about today's Afghanistan, and then with the support of the leaders of the country, members of the parliament, members of the civil society, prominent women leaders of Afghanistan, and altogether the youth of this country, which are represented to the extent possible in these circumstances and conditions of Afghanistan, we try to we thought that we should try to build consensus for peace. There we didn't have much to do because the people of Afghanistan do have consensus on peace. The absolute majority of the people of Afghanistan, and also we try to work around Afghanistan and also work with the neighborhood of Afghanistan and also members of the international community in collaboration with other institutions like the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and sometimes together with yourself, Mr. President, to support those peace efforts and to try to bring consensus. Yes, to a large extent, there has been consensus around that priority of the people of Afghanistan, that peace is a priority and peace is the goal. In order to achieve peace, certain conditions are needed. If one side believes that they can win militarily, and then they depend on that thought, and then they do not show flexibility around the negotiating table, then we will not get where we want to be. I will talk about recent Doha meeting, which senior leaders participated with me. I'll give the brief, share my account of the Doha with this gathering, but also with the leadership committee of the High Council for National Reconciliation. I'll give all the details of it. And meanwhile, I want to thank all those who created the opportunity for the start of the talks, in spite of the setbacks, in spite of the realities that you are faced with today, which is all-out war in different parts of the country. The Qatar as the host country, the peace support group, the United Nations, and all those countries and organizations which were supportive of these efforts. We are grateful to them. Some worked on the surface that we know about this. Some worked very diligently behind the scene. We might have not mentioned their names, but those efforts, every one of those single one of those efforts are valuable efforts which we are grateful. In the course of the past few months, we had Troika Plus meeting in Moscow, which was an opportunity to get together with the Taliban. There was another opportunity earlier in Tehran a few days back, where our teams negotiated. But our negotiating team is in Doha, has been there throughout, and I want to commend their work. And then the question will be that you express thanks for the efforts of men and women which represent Afghanistan in the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, and then we have not achieved peace. How could you address this dilemma? I'll get to that. The efforts of ulamas in Afghanistan and also ulamas around the world. I want to thank the Minister of Irshad, Hajj and Awqaf for its efforts in being involved and also supported those efforts of ulamas around the world. What happened in Saudi Arabia recently, earlier than that, the conferences of ulamas. Some parliaments around the world, they took initiatives. Our own parliamentarians also helped with those events in support of the peace process in Afghanistan. In different, whenever Afghanistan issue has been raised, either in the United Council, in the Security Council, the United Nations Security Council, or General Assembly, or the NATO Summit, its support for a peaceful settlement in Afghanistan. EU statements, the recent EU United States statement in support of the peaceful settlement and putting an end to violence, Istanbul, Heart of Asia conference, and numerous other occasions. So it means that from all corners of the world, what we hear is support for peaceful settlement. And also another statement attached to that, that there is no military solution. And military solution is not viable, it's not desirable for the people of Afghanistan. And I want all those who have made those efforts, members of our own civil society, in their getting connected around the world, women organizations, networks, all of them have made efforts in support of peaceful settlement. But the situation is as it is, as we see it. And we will continue our efforts in that regard. With your permission, Mr. President, briefly I will touch upon our visit to Doha, recent visit to Doha. This idea was around for quite some time, that while our negotiating teams are getting together and they are discussing the issues, the pace of progress is very slow. You yourself also referred to the exchange of prisoners, reduction in violence, which was promised. We have not been witness. Increase in the level of violence is something, the reality of which the people of Afghanistan are faced. And the consequences of that increase in the level of violence in many ways, these are the realities that the people of Afghanistan are faced with. In terms of getting it a new energy, that was the idea. The idea was not to replace the work of our negotiating team, which are doing a good job. The High Council for National Reconciliation here, we had discussed the idea of a peace plan, different ways of approaching it. You yourself referred to the bridge to peace in a stable Afghanistan. All of these were part of the efforts and part of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. This meeting was supposed to have taken place long before. There was an idea of a meeting in Istanbul, which Turkey graciously had offered to host that in collaboration with the United Nations and also Qatar, which is the host of the negotiations at the moment. That event didn't take place. The reasons for that, I will not get into all those factors involved in it. Eventually, there was an opportunity in Doha. And the idea was that some other leaders of Taliban also will participate, apart from those who are based in Doha. That one didn't happen, but we discussed it in the High Council and also with the President and other political leaders, that this is not like the protocol issue, that who is coming, who is not coming. We go there for a purpose, to give a message, and also to see if we could help the situation, if we could help the process, expedite the process, because urgency of peace cannot be exaggerated for the people of Afghanistan. All the other aspects of it, like consequences for the region, consequences for peace and stability around the world, the terrorism and their programs in this part of the world, all those consequences. I think it was referred to in a sufficient ways. We went there. Our message was very clear. We are unified in support of a peaceful settlement, inclusive, just, fair, equitable, peaceful settlement. It's not that one of us want this and some other members of the government or leaders in the government or in the society we are against. We are all here to give you this message that we are unified in support of a peaceful settlement. That was the first message. The second one was that we are also flexible. We are determined, but at the same time we are flexible. We have come with flexibility because it is required from both sides. And we expect flexibility from your side as well, from the Taliban. The third point was that there is no military solution. If there is any calculus anywhere that because of the change of territory on the ground today, tomorrow, or taking advantage of the withdrawal of the international troops in the gap that it had left behind, if anybody believes that this will lead to a solution, it will not lead to a solution. The option is between a peace between us, between Afghans, and the continuation of the war in a much, much more complicated manner, which will not serve anybody's interest. So that was the next part of the message. In 48 hours of discussions, which perhaps altogether like 12 hours of meetings took place between us and the Taliban leaders. That was the aim. What we achieved was not all what we expected, or the people of Afghanistan. It's more than us. It's more than us as the representatives of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. It wasn't satisfactory for the people, but at the same time, we agreed that we should expedite the process. That's the main thing. With the pace that developments, military security developments are taking place in Afghanistan, in the momentum that it creates within the country, and the consequences of that for that situation for the people of Afghanistan, in the suffering of our people, which is taking place days in and out, we should look at it with a sense of urgency. There was a broad agreement that we should expedite it. We had raised some ideas how to expedite it. One of those ideas were that if there are 3-4 main topics of discussions, we should start discussing it in parallel, rather than waiting until one of the issues that the representatives of the Taliban movement were mainly interested. It was in confidence-building measures. Confidence-building measures, yes, of course, it's important. It's a priority. But it's 5, 6, 7 years since this is being talked about. Even from the time that our US colleagues had direct contacts with the Taliban, and we didn't have direct negotiations with them. And Taliban were saying that first confidence-building measures, and as confidence-building measures, exchange of prisoners, and also delisting. We also understand that this is a priority. Okay, why not put this on the table and talk about it? And then they also had identified another priority, which is discussion on the Constitution. They call it new Constitution. I said, we can discuss the Constitution, and then you raise your ideas, we raise our ideas, and then in later stages we might need expert support or whatever. But it is a long-term process. We will not get to an agreement on this. But the main issue that we raised there was political settlement. Political settlement, the ideas which has been shared with them through our negotiating team earlier, is on the table. And I told them, I went one step further, Mr. President. I told them that in the political settlement, we are ready to talk about everything. Put it on the table, we discuss it. And with the hope that we will get to a settlement, an earlier settlement. But their proposal was consequential, in sequential. First, confidence-building measures, and then the rest of it, which means that the pace will be more or less the same. While yes, it's important that we have an exchange of prisoners, but more prisoners will be produced. More people will be killed on daily basis. How could we build confidence on that basis if we don't have a ceasefire, if we don't start discussions on political settlement? So, without going to further details, but one thing I can report to this gathering, that the engagement was very thorough, respectful engagement between both sides. That also showed that there is a willingness to find a way out. Perhaps the parameters of that solution are very different in the perspectives of both sides. We try to explain to them that when we talk about the principle, they were saying that first the confidence building measures, and then a new constitution, working on a new constitution, and then agreeing on the principles of Islamic system, and then moving towards a political settlement. First agree on that. I said that why not put all three of them on the table? Discussing the constitution of the country, working on the confidence building measures, and giving it a priority. Confidence building measure, giving it a priority, but parallel discussions, and also political settlement, because the aim of the confidence building measures will be to have a political settlement, and political settlement needs to be inclusive and with all those criteria. And we said that as one of the principles that we believe that it's important is the issue of elections. You say that we believe in elections. We also say we believe in elections. We have a clarity of mind about elections. We want that clarity to be discussed on the negotiating table, around the negotiating table, from your side as well. We said that one person, one vote as the end state when the transition of power takes place. So there were detailed discussions, I should say. The atmosphere was the one which was engaging throughout. So that may gives us hope that the future of we will have the negotiations expedited. And also one difference which this round of negotiations had, it was the presence of the Qatar Special Envoy Ambassador Qahtani throughout those meetings. In principle, we had agreed on the issue of mediation facilitation by Qatar in collaboration with the United Nations. And then Ambassador John Arnault was also there, and also representatives of not in the meeting, but in Qatar, and other members of the international community which are supportive of the peace process, including Ambassador Khalilzad, representatives of Germany, Norway, and other countries. They were also present there, and we were engaging them as well. Eventually, what was decided that higher level of engagement, senior level leaders' engagement, should continue with the aim of expediting the process. So on the suggestion which was made, moving in parallel, that we couldn't get a final agreement, but we agreed to find ways how to expedite the process. And if I go anything further than that, it will be, I try to give an honest account of what has happened. And then what will help us in this regard, apart from everything else that has been discussed here, attending to the needs of our people in ways to address the challenges of our people. And also, it's not the time to say why things get wrong. Billions of dollars has been spent in Afghanistan, and thousands of sacrifices from international troops, tens of thousands of sacrifices from our part. And today, we are in a situation that people are concerned, more than concerned. People are worried. Every single citizen of this country, which was hoping to live in peace with one another in this country, are seriously concerned. And what to do to address these concerns? The question is not why it will. Yes, of course, there will be time in the future, hopefully, that we will see the factors, how these things got us into today's situation. But the question today is how to get it right to the extent possible. What we can do as Afghans. I think the one thing, if there is one thing that I can say, is to give the real sense of solidarity and unity, not just among the political leaders, but the nation as a whole, because what is at stake is the existence of the country. Yes, of course, we were reassured, and I was also briefed about the military security plans which exist. And that also requires unified support of leaders of this country, in the government and outside the government, and also the people of Afghanistan. And our support for our national and defense forces, that's not a question. It is 100%, because they are not waging war for the sake of waging war. They are defending the rights of the people. And that I am saying it as a citizen, and sometimes people say that as the chair of the High Council, this might also be a contradictory thing. No, if the strategy of Afghanistan would have been that, okay, we will wage war in order to kill the last one which is fighting against us, then that would have been a valid question. When the reality is that while we are making all those efforts for achieving peace, and all partners of Afghanistan are supporting us in achieving that, and then we are faced with a situation that one side is practicing its military might and exercising its goal of achieving a military solution, that in itself, that requires unity in support of our defense forces, and also in gaining in preserving the gains of the people of Afghanistan, which is talking in general is the main topic, the main theme of today's event. Well, thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity. I thank all the partners who have participated and those who are supporting us, including development partners, international financial institutions, NGOs, non-profit organizations, of course, embassies being here under these circumstances, and also being in today's occasion, and we will listen to you, since it has been a shared partnership for a shared goal. Your views are also important, how we can work together. As I mentioned, the issue is not that what went wrong. The issue is that how to get it right to the extent possible, and inshallah, with the help of God, with the resilience of our own people, and also with drawing the right path towards our people, in making the right efforts, and turn it into a success for the people of Afghanistan. Success for the people of Afghanistan will be a peaceful Afghanistan, peaceful within and without, with all the rights of its citizens preserved and protected. Once again, thank you. I made a promise that I will be short. I don't know how it happened, because I didn't look at my watch.
Example.
Okay.
So that's good.
Thanks. Thank you. تشکر.
سپاس از سخنان دکتر صاحب عبدالله رئیس شورای مصالحه ملی، و اینکه مشاهداتشان را از گفتگوهای اخیر در دوحه با حضار گرامی و بینندگان محترم تلویزیون شریک ساختند.